Welcome to Motivational Monday. I'm sincerely glad to have you all with us. This is June 13th, 2016, and today we begin a new multi-week series on the law of attraction. As usual, all comments, questions, issues, and critiques are appreciated, so feel free to post in the chat bar on the side, where topical discussion is also welcome. Post your own links, promotions, and or contact information there too. I'm happy to share the space with you, so go ahead and promote yourself. That's what we're all about here. For those who may not know me, my name is Steve, and I'm known by many online as the WordPress Wizard. I've also been called the Coach's Coach and the Web Guy for Coaches. I am the founder of wizardsplace.com, and you can contact me through that site or by email. I've posted both the link to the website and the email address in the sidebar. As a published author, WordPress instructor, and online presence developer, I earn my entire living right here on the web, mostly by helping others to do the same. I work with people just like you who need a little help moving their business forward, who need to expand their marketing reach, or who are serious about developing a successful online presence so they can work less and earn more. I'm experienced, approachable, and affordable, and the first half-hour consultation is always free. So why not contact me today and begin your journey from website to wealth? And welcome. We're going to be talking about a very important topic, important to all of us. It's certainly been a big part of my life, and I want to share some ideas with you. But before we get into that, let's deal with a couple of things here first. I'm just going to do a little plug for myself and what I do. For those of you who are watching now who don't know me, or those who check out the replay, you can find me at the website wizardsplace.com. And this, in a nutshell, is what I do. And I'm going to post this in the sidebar for you. Let me just get it sorted out here. Should do it. And so I do spend my time assembling the pieces of your online presence, and I'll show you how to do it. I work with WordPress, social media, content development, inbound marketing, and search as a foundation. Cover a lot of other material, small business development, and so on. I've been around a bit, worked a bit, had some experience, and I'm very, very glad to share that and help you get sorted with what you're doing. I'm here on Blab 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We start out with Motivational Mondays, and that's today. And we're now just beginning a multi-part series on the law of attraction. So that'll be going forward from today. You can also find me here Wednesday, WordPress Wednesdays, and as the name suggests, we speak about all things WordPress. And then on Focus Friday, where we focus on you and your business and your success. And we're in the middle of a 10-week series. It'll be week 3, actually, of the 10-week series this Friday on staying focused on your objectives, which looks at the chapters of my book, Wiz's 10 Steps to Staying Focused on Your Objectives, which is an easy, actionable plan you can apply to what you're doing. Welcome, Barb. Glad to see you joined us. We're just getting started. I'm going through some of the housekeeping items here. Anybody who has a question is welcome to post it in the sidebar. It's easier for me to spot the questions and deal with them because sometimes there gets to be a fair bit of chit-chat going on, which we actually encourage. But if you want to post a question for me to answer, please put a / and a letter Q at the beginning. Let me see if I can get this in there. And then follow that with a space and type your question and hit enter. And it'll appear in the chat bar at the side, as you can see what just showed up there now, with that little blue cue ball that lets me spot that there is, in fact, a question. So that just helps me do that, and it's just a / and the letter Q before you start typing your question. I'm going to be sharing a number of books today in the presentation itself, so I'm not going to give away a free ebook. Many of the books I'm going to share are free, and you'll be able to find them online in different places. I'll give you some information on that as we progress. But there are a lot of books that reference the material that we're going to be talking about, and I really absolutely encourage you to get at least one of them and read it. It amazes me how many good books there are and how few people actually read. I can't stress that enough. And if you're not prepared to do that, then I'm not even sure why you're listening to this presentation or the recording, because it isn't going to help you. You've got to take the steps. You've got to put the action behind the intent. And we'll be talking about that actually on Friday in the Focus Friday. That is the section we're going to be talking about, is action, bringing action to your plans. So we'll get into that on Friday. Cindy, welcome. I see you dropped in. You've popped out again. I know you do that from time to time with your cell phone, so maybe you'll get back in a moment. I hope so. I'm going to start off then on our topic today, which is the law of attraction, or LOA, as many people say it, or post it. Excuse me, I have a little bit of a cough hanging around with me. It just doesn't seem to want to go away. Happens when you get to my age. Anyway, the law of attraction is something that's all around us, and it is actually working for all of us. And I know that some people, don't think that's true, but let me get into some things here that might help you see it, understand it, visualize it in your life. It is working for you, whether you want it to or not, whether you believe it or not, and we'll see about that as well. And the law of attraction is based on thought energy. Most people are not aware of the power of thought, and they dismiss the law of attraction as a myth or some, esoteric thing that doesn't really apply to them. And nothing could be further than the truth. We become what we think about. That's simply the truth. We're starting to find now that, if you're a person who really is a doubting Thomas and has to actually see things or hear that science is working on it before you believe in it, well, scientists are working on these things. The law of attraction is part of some things that are being really delved into by a lot of mainstream scientists now. The whole area of quantum physics has opened up areas of thought and scientific research that only a few decades ago weren't even conceived by the scientific community. And they're starting to realize that a lot of these things that have been talked about for years, for decades, for centuries, actually have some basis in fact. And so we're starting to see some of that coming to fruition in their research. And it's interesting to look at. It's very difficult for scientists who have put down this whole concept for forever to suddenly have to start coming around and saying, "Oh, wait a minute, there might be something to that." So I want you to understand that that the whole universe is made up of energy. And if if you're into scientific stuff at all, you've probably heard something to that effect somewhere. Everything is energy. Even matter is just energy in solid form. You can't destroy energy. When you think you're destroying matter, all you're doing is releasing it back to the energy state. And so, it's impossible to actually destroy anything in the totalitarian sense, the idea of all of existence. What exists, exists. It just keeps going into different forms. And in reality, and truly, in reality, it's a good phrase to use. Everything starts with thought. Everything we do, everything we achieve, everything that happens to us, around us, and outside of our scope of awareness, everything is thought. And I want to show you just a couple of simple examples to help you sort of understand this. And the first one is an example that I've used many, many times. It's in my book. I've mentioned it here on Blab probably a couple times. But the subconscious mind is a big portion of our thinking. But we don't consciously think about it. So we don't think about our subconscious mind. But it is back there doing its thing, thinking about solutions for us, putting out energy, thought energy, and receiving back from the universe, and analyzing and making things happen for us. And I can show you a very simple example. I know everybody has done this. It's such a typical example. But and maybe not this specific scenario that I'm going to share, but you've done something like this, I guarantee it. Think of picking up a tray of drinks in your kitchen, nice, tall, cold glasses of iced tea maybe, and you're carrying them out to the patio where people are sitting around a picnic table. And as you pick up the drinks and you turn to start walking to the patio, you think in your mind, I hope I don't trip. And it's just a nice flat walk out to the patio. There aren't even any steps. The patio door is a slider, and it's set flush with the floor. There's nothing to trip over. There's no toys. The kids haven't left anything on the floor. There's no bicycle out on the patio. It's just a nice straight walk right out through to the picnic table. And halfway there, you stumble over your foot and almost drop the glasses. Maybe you did drop the glasses in your particular example. Or you recover last second and you get to the table and you set them down. But whether it's a catastrophe or a recovery, you've done that. Someplace you've thought to yourself, I hope I don't, and then a moment later you do. I hope I don't drop this, boom. I hope I don't break this, boom. I hope I don't tear this, rip. It happens. Every one of us has done it several times in our lives. If you haven't done it, put a nope in the chat bar to let me know that you've never done that, because you'll be the first person I've ever run across in the thousands and thousands of people that I've talked to who hasn't done it. So, it's universal. Everybody has done that. And so, I've just simply found that to happen all the time. And hi, Cindy, welcome. I think I missed you. No, I did mention you, that you were in and out again, and you're posting about the chat there. That's cool. Let me just, whoops. Oh, I just lost the screen. What happened here? Here we go. Okay, I've just taken your level up to host there, Cindy, so that you can look after any stuff in the chat if you don't mind. I certainly appreciate your help when you do this. Thank you. And so here we are now. You've seen an example. You've thought of an example for yourself where you've stumbled when you thought you shouldn't. And that's a powerful example of the subconscious mind working for you. And people misuse the subconscious mind. They don't realize that it's actually working for them, even if they don't know it. The problem is that we don't tend to easily understand the subconscious mind, because we think it's kind of like the conscious mind, only hidden away and much bigger. And it is much bigger and much more powerful than the conscious mind, and it is hidden away and we don't see it. It constantly takes the things that we're thinking about and works on them and feeds us back answers. Those things, you think of something, you're watching a TV show and you're trying to remember the actor's name and you can't remember it because consciously it's not there in the current memory tracks. You just can't seem to sort through and find it. I know that guy, what's his name? Oh my. And then the show is over and you're off doing dishes or cooking dinner or reading a book, and in pops the name of the actor. Where'd that come from? I wasn't even thinking about it now, right? And the answer's there. You've had that happen to you. That's because the subconscious mind is working in the background to find the answer to your questions, the solutions to your problems. When you feed those in your conscious mind, it goes to work and it finds the answers. Okay, so why aren't we all rich? Why aren't we all happy? Why aren't, we think about those things? Well, yeah, but we also think about other things. We think about negative stuff a whole lot. We worry and we complain and we think about all this negative stuff and what might happen. Remember when you were walking with those drinks and you thought, I hope I don't trip, and you tripped? That's because the subconscious mind tried to give you what you wanted. Oh, wait a minute now. I didn't want to trip. I said, I hope I don't trip. Well, that's the one problem that people don't understand. The subconscious mind only acts in absolutes. If you're a mathematician, you'll understand that. But it only acts in absolutes. So when you say, I don't want to trip, it just hears want to trip. When you say, I hope this doesn't happen, it just hears happen. When you say, oh my, what if that happens? Oh, what would I do if that happens? And that happens is a bad thing. The subconscious mind says, oh, you want that? Okay, I'll work on getting it for you. And it does its level best to make the bad things happen for you. So when you spend your time worrying and fretting and consciously thinking about those bad things that could happen, the subconscious mind works towards making them happen. And then you say, see, all those bad things out there, they just follow me around. They happen. Well, yeah, because you want them to happen because you manifested them. The subconscious mind does not understand right or wrong, good or bad, yes or no, do or don't. It only understands the absolutes. So you need to fill your mind with those positive absolutes to make them come true. It's simple. And it's hard to do when you're in the habit of not doing it. But it is pretty straightforward. That's kind of the microcosm, the small example of the law of attraction. And that's just the one aspect of it, the subconscious mind, which is our own little mini law of attraction generator that we have. But the law of attraction is far bigger, far greater than that. It is a universal law. And, it's funny, of late, there has been a resurgence of the law of attraction. I think that it tends to happen in cycles. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of it in a moment, but I think it kind of happens in cycles, and it seems to follow sometimes the political cycles or the economic cycles. And, it's, what do they say? There's no atheists in a foxhole. If you're military terminology, if you're under fire, you're ducking down in a foxhole and you're, taking incoming fire. Everybody prays. Doesn't matter. There's no atheists. Well, when it comes to the law of attraction, that tends to happen in the same way. When your financial situation is bad, you tend to look to the law of attraction for answers. When the political situation is bad, you just don't know where you're going to go, who you're going to vote for, what the solutions are going to be. You start looking to the law of attraction, hoping things will be better. And so we tend only to draw on it when we have need. But it's actually working for us all the time, whether we draw on it or not. It is a law of the universe. And it's a little bit like gravity. I had a person, I was talking to somebody about putting this series together, and I've actually been working on a major course on the law of attraction for some time. I've been interested in the law of attraction probably since I was about 14 years old. And it's been a part of my life all through my life. I'll be 65 this year, for whatever that matters, but just to give you an idea. So for about 50 years, I've been involved with and using the law of attraction, sometimes more successfully than others. Sometimes I've applied it and it's worked really well for me, and sometimes I've just let it happen to me, and it's it's been good or bad. And it's because sometimes my focus hasn't been right. And so I understand that, and I know what to do to make it right. And part of the reason I'm actually sharing this on Blab, I love the Blab platform, and it's worked out really well for me. And so I have. Okay, hold on. I see you trying to come in, Cindy, and I'm trying to approve you here, but it's not allowing me. What the heck is going on? I don't know whether something has changed or not. I'm going to X you out, but try to come back in again. It's okay. It for some reason it didn't pop up the box for me to approve you. So if you were trying to get in, by all means, try again. Glad to have you with us in the discussion today. But anyway, I've been working with this all my life, and I've seen it work really well, and I understand that it always works, whether I use it or not. But lately, there's kind of been a resurgence in the law of attraction, the interest in it. And in fact, I keep seeing emails now from people that are trying to peddle courses or products or whatever. And two that I saw just in this past week. One said, click if you feel the law of attraction has failed you. And that's an interesting lead-in to a message that's trying to sell you an ebook in that particular case. Because a lot of people do feel that the law of attraction has failed them. And it hasn't. Let me tell you, it's working for you all the time. It just may be that you're not asking for the right things. And we're going to get into that in real detail over this session so that you can learn how to manifest the law of attraction in the right way. It's so critical, and it's so easy, but it's easy to do it wrong too. And our lifestyles, our living, day-to-day living, and our learning, our understanding of things tends to make us do it the wrong way. Encourages us to do it the wrong way, and then we say the law of attraction isn't working for us. But the law of attraction also doesn't understand good or bad, yes or no, right or wrong. So if you're having bad things happen to you, it's because you're manifesting them. You're bringing those things in. To put it bluntly, you're asking for them. You know, he was asking for it. Yeah, he actually is. That's how it happens. And you say, oh, no, I'm not. I don't want those things. Yes, you do. You just don't know that you want them. And I know that inside you really don't want them. You don't want to want them. But what you've been doing has been manifesting them. So you need to understand the right ways to do that. And we're going to go into that in detail over the coming weeks, because it does take a little bit of time to go through it and deal with it. And I'm going to deal with it step by step so that you can work with it. And, come and see or don't. It's great. I'm sharing this with you in part because I'm sharing it with myself. I want to remanifest things in my life, and I want to bring these things to fruition in a way, and sharing this with you is my way of focusing on it myself. So there is certainly a personal interest story here, a self-serving story here, and I make no bones about it. That's what it's about. But along with that, you can know that you can get exactly what I'm getting out of this, because I'm sharing for myself as well as for you. And it is something that is really, truly powerful. The second subject line that I saw this week was the law of attraction's missing link revealed. Well, I think he means revealed. He actually spelled revealed, but that happens with people when they're flogging cheap ebooks. The law of attraction missing link revealed. It always amazes me how people hide things, or try to hide them, or try to give them some false sense of importance by using words like missing link or secret or hidden blueprint, all of these different things that try to impart value to something. And it's kind of a sad thing that something as commonplace, as universal as the law of attraction gets sullied by some of these hucksters that try to make it into something it isn't. And again, this past week, I've been talking to some people about what I'm doing here, and in doing my research, some of the things that I found or rediscovered, because many of them are things that I know. I just had to kind of bring them out and get them put down so I could deal with them in the presentation. And one person that I was talking to said, well, I don't believe that stuff. So, hey, I don't care. And you know what? The law of attraction doesn't care. It isn't out there trying to develop a fan club. It's not a religion. It doesn't need a bunch of people to show up on Sunday morning to put their money in the plate to make it work. It doesn't care about having more likes than somebody else. That's not what the law of attraction is about. The law of attraction is a universal law. It's like gravity. You don't have to believe in gravity, but don't go stepping off any tall buildings. Believe me. You don't have to believe in it. It just works. So keep that in mind. You don't have to get your head around it. You don't have to get it into your heart. You don't have to profess some kind of undying support for it. All you have to do is use it. It's there to be used. When you get up and walk across the living room, gravity is working for you. You don't believe in it. You don't have to, pay homage to it. You don't have to set up a religion and worship it. It just works for you. You get up, it holds you to the floor. You go outside, it holds you to the ground. This globe of ours is spinning, like 1,000 miles an hour. Shouldn't we be blowing off it? Shouldn't we be flying all over the place because the surface is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, give or take? Wow. No, gravity takes care of that. It holds us to the globe. It holds us down. It allows us to drive our cars. Can you imagine if there was no gravity and we were trying to drive a car? Man, it would be fun for a little while, but then it would get pretty bad. But those things, electricity is a universal law. I was at my daughter's graduation ceremony from college. By the way, she graduated cum laude. Top of the deal. She was on the dean's list and a bunch of different things. She's off to graduate school. She's studying to be a doctor. And just an amazing thing. But it happens to be that the university that she went to, or the college that she went to, is a Christian college. And some of you know I have a reverend in front of my name, so it's there. But these people were speaking at the commencement ceremonies, and one of the things somebody mentioned, there was a lot of religious overtones in what was being shared. I was a little disappointed with it because yes, it's nice to have a religious college that deals with the morals and the issues and brings up people in that way. And there was a good section of the graduates that were going off into the ministry and into other related areas, and that's very nice, all of those things. But the purpose of the commencement was the students themselves and their future going forward. And while it is all well and good to make references to walking with God in their future and so on, I'm certainly supportive of that kind of thing. I think they went a little overboard in some of this. And one of the persons doing the presentation referred to the fact he was one of these fundamentalists that's deathly against science. Science is wrong, and he said, there's that guy Thomas Edison, who claimed that he created light. And we all know that he didn't create light. God created light. It says so right in the Bible. Well, you know what? It really bothers me when religious people lie. It also says right in the Bible, thou shalt not bear false witness. And to make things fit, a lot of apparently so-called Christians lie through their teeth. Thomas Edison never said he invented light. He invented the light bulb, which is just a convenient package to keep light in. He never once claimed to have created light. So when you take things out of context like that, when you misquote things like that, and use them for your own gain, you'll find that actually the law of attraction isn't working on your behalf as you think it might. It's working on your behalf as I would expect it might. And so you need to be careful. We talked actually last Friday in the focus section. I mentioned the monkey's paw. I hope some people read that. And being careful what you ask for. And that is never more true than when dealing with the law of attraction. You must be careful what you ask for. And you don't even have to ask for it to ask for it. You must be careful what you think about. There is a book, which I'm going to reference in a few minutes. Well, I'll tell you right now, I guess I'll post it in the sidebar here. It's called As a Man Thinketh, and it's by James Allen, who was one of the early adopters of the movement, the New Thought movement, which had to do with really adopting the law of attraction and understanding it. This is a book, man. If you don't read anything else this month, read this. It's about 9 pages long. In the printed version, it's barely a pamphlet. I mean, it's not a hard read at all. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, and you can get that a lot of places. But the short version of it has been in print and circulated around, and there are extended essays on it. But the short version of it has been in, like I say, about a 9-page pamphlet or booklet. And I know of a young man and his wife who went to a person who was my mentor and had heard about this person's success. The person was very, very successful financially, very, very successful personally, spiritually. He was just a really good person, and he did a lot to help people. And this young couple went to him, went over to his house. They did actually call ahead of time and make an appointment, and they came over on that designated evening. And Bill and his wife invited them in and had supper ready for them and sat them at the table in their beautiful home. I've been in their home a couple of times, and I mean, it was just an amazing place. Something that wasn't, ostentatious, but it certainly showed that they were very successful financially. And they sat there and they talked, and Bill, in his way, asked them a lot of questions and, tried to find out more about them and what they were doing. And Bill got up from the table and went to his study and came back with a copy of the As a Man Thinketh, and he gave it to the young man, and he said, "Now, you take this home and you read this. I want you to read it, and then you call me and we'll get together. I want to talk to you about it because this is your starting point." And so they talked a little bit more, and they had dessert and coffee after dinner, and then the young couple left, and Bill and his wife saw them out the door. And when Bill closed the door and he turned around, there on the little table just inside the entryway was the copy of As a Man Thinketh. The young man, didn't want to read it, and rather than just take it with him and throw it away, he just left it on the table. And that's the way a lot of people react to getting help. It's surprising how many people don't want help, don't accept help when it's there, and even when they're seeking it, reaching out for it, they just won't do what needs to be done, and oftentimes it's very, very simple. So I just share that little story as a way, and I share that book as a good starting point At 9 pages, you can't help but read it. It's even shorter than my book, so I really recommend you have a look at that. And if you happen to come across the extended essay copies and so on, well, then more power to you, because you'll find those to be very helpful as well. And so in one of the books that I'm using as a guide, it's called The Holistic Guide for the Law of Attraction, which I'm using as a guide for this series. And Lynn, welcome. Glad to have you with us. I've picked up on a number of points that I think are important. And let me just quote this to you. This is just a sentence I pulled out of a part of this book. And it says, the starting point on the road to successfully and deliberately manifesting your desire is to become aware of the thoughts and feelings that are producing your experience, and to take responsibility for your reality. Let me read that again. The starting point on the road to successfully and deliberately manifesting your desires is to become aware of the thoughts and feelings that are producing your experience, and to take responsibility for your reality. You can ask for help, and there are a lot of great people that will offer you help. I've had some amazing mentors in my life, and asking is the first step, really. People offer their help. They often offer it for free, but it's in a more general sense. But if you want specific help for yourself, you need to ask for it. Don't be afraid to ask. You'd be amazed how many people will step up. And then consider sometimes that you might want to hire it done. You might want to find the right person. I have 2 coaches or mentors right now that I pay for. And I pay a monthly fee to be on their mailing list, and to spend a little time with them every month, and to be able to ask them direct questions. So, that really pays off for me. And I believe that every coach out there, I just don't understand coaches who expect other people to pay them for their efforts, but don't actually pay someone to help them. I don't know of anybody who knows everything. As I say, I've got 2 coaches. I've had several over the years, mentors and coaches. And I've found different things from each of them. And they've all been extremely good. But I haven't found all the answers from any one of them. And so I don't know how any coach out there can expect to know all the answers for themselves and share everything right with everybody else. Even for these blabs, which I'm giving away for free, I do a lot of research to find the bits and pieces that go together with my own bits and pieces, and deliver something of value. So, get to the right places, get to the right people, and then speak up, ask. There's nothing wrong with that at all. The law of attraction is a universal law that has been with us since the beginning of time. This isn't something that was made up last week by somebody, or 6 years ago, or even a decade ago. It is not something that's made up. It has been studied and analyzed, and new ideas have come out of it. New understandings have been developed, and a lot of writing has gone on about it. But it truly is something that has been there. It is a universal law. And whenever gravity started, probably the law of attraction started, somewhere in that formative place in the universe. And whatever your belief and understanding is of that formative structure, whether it was 5,000 years ago and took 6 days, or whether it has been billions of years, it doesn't matter. What you believe doesn't matter. It's just that it is. And so, as Cindy said in the chat, your lungs work to breathe, and you will breathe as long as you're alive. You don't have to, it's true, you just don't have to believe in breathing. You don't have to even understand the science that goes on in the brain that causes you to breathe. You can consciously alter your breathing. You can breathe faster or slower. You can not breathe by choice for a little while, but the body takes over. If you hold your breath until you faint, you won't die. You'll faint and start breathing again. The body takes over. Some of these things just happen. So the law of attraction is very much like that. And thank you for sharing that, Cindy, because it's another one of those real examples where you can see how these systems affect us. And we can disagree with them all we want, but they still affect us in the same way. So we've got a universal law, and it affects every aspect of our lives, from our health and financial well-being, to our relationships, our ambitions, our business success. Everything that we do is affected by it. Just as every physical thing in the world is affected by gravity. Airplanes are affected by gravity. Cars are affected by gravity. We're affected by gravity. This pencil is affected by gravity. So, actually, it's a pen, but the word pencil came to mind. So it is, something that is there in everything we do. And we can either go with the flow, as we used to say in the age of enlightenment that us hippies hung out in, or you can fight against it. You can fight against the man. You can't fight against the universal laws. It is, it is something that is there that affects everything we do. Now, interestingly enough, and this applies, across a broad spectrum of your beliefs. I've done quite a bit of research in comparative religions. It's when I was picking up that reverend tag that's on my name and doing other studies, I really spent a lot of time looking into comparative religions, all kinds of religions, both currently around the world and historically. And it surprised me that everywhere I looked, without exception, from the Christian Bible to Hinduism to panentheism, everywhere I looked, and how appropriate, Dante, to drop in just now. Welcome, Dante. Glad to have you. But everywhere I looked in comparative religions, I found the law of attraction mentioned in one way or another and supported by the teachings of those religions. Now, it wasn't called the law of attraction, but in fact, it was the law of attraction. You take your faith wherever it is, whatever it is, and you do a little bit of research yourself as we're going through these things over the weeks, and I think it's going to surprise you. And so, we have something that has been around as long as any of the known religions have been around. Every historical society, history, throughout history, every existing society, every time people got together and, they just, every culture around the world has invoked the law of attraction in one way or another. It has been universally accepted and adopted. Now, some people, individuals, will reject it. Doesn't mean it doesn't affect them. So that's pretty important, I think, to realize the scope of this. Now, in modern times, and I think we need to understand what's been happening, but the New Thought movement is the name, New Thought movement is the name of the kind of the body that brought the law of attraction into focus and began writing about it and sharing ideas about it and discussing it and focusing on it in modern times. And that's starting with the early 1800s. The advent of the industrial age and growth in financial resources, growth in individual wealth, opportunity for people, and especially here in what was thought of as the New World. Funny thing is, it's been here just as long as the rest of the world, and actually Christopher Columbus didn't discover it. In fact, Christopher Columbus never ever set foot in North American mainland. I'm kind of surprised we have a Columbus Day to honor him. He was never in the United States ever. And so, and those people who did actually land on the shores of the United States, of North America, the United States and Canada, and even Mexico, they weren't people who actually discovered it. That's like losing your keys and then saying, "Oh, look, I discovered keys," when you find them. No, you found something that was already there. And the law of attraction is the same way. These people didn't discover it. They started exploring it. And it happened at about that time, the early 1800s. And so I'm going to share another, just a minuscule passage here, but I think it's worth thinking about. Back in 1897, Ralph Trine, in a book called In Tune with the Infinite. How's that for a title? In Tune with the Infinite. And I'm going to grab that information out of my notes and share it here too for anybody who's looking for these books. A lot of these older books, of course, are out of copyright and can be found especially in PDF format, available for download on the internet, free of charge. Places like the Gutenberg Project. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, but the Gutenberg Project is a organization whose aim is to put every work in print into digital form for safekeeping, and along the way they make them available for download as well if they are copyright free. And certainly they have all of the books, or they have attempted to collect all of the books that have ever been written that are still available, they put together this immense library, and you can go there free of charge and download those books. There's many other books that are actually still in copyright where the authors have given their permission for them to be there. And there's other books that they have, and I'm not sure exactly what the terms are, you'd have to look at it, that are not free, that you can join as a member and have access to. But mostly it's their free library that's of interest. So that's the Gutenberg library, which is gutenberg.net. And worth having a look at. And many of the books I'm going to talk about here, the older ones, are available there free of charge. But if you just search the title in Google, if you search the title plus the extension, just PDF, don't put a .pdf on the title, just put the words of title. So in this particular case, if you search In Tune with the Infinite, words spaced out, and then a space, and then PDF, Google will return a whole lot of sources where you can get that book in a PDF format. The information, though, in that book is quite interesting. It goes back to 1897, as I said, and the author, Trine, wrote in that, "The law of attraction works universally on every plane of action, and we attract whatever we desire or expect." Think about that. The law of attraction works universally on every plane of action, and we attract whatever we desire or expect. That sounds like an amazing statement, and the first assumption is, it can't be true. It doesn't work for me. Yes, it does. It works exactly for you. The problem is you're desiring or expecting the wrong things. You've had the upbringing that has taught you that these things don't work. You're just by nature a worrier, and so you think of all these bad things that can happen. Oh my, oh, how terrible. And so you're doing those things, and on one hand you're worrying about the bad stuff, and on the other hand you're saying, now if I could only have some decent income. Oh, how terrible this is, these things are, oh, if I could only, oh. And you keep that conflict going. And in that particular book, Tyne goes on to explain how divided thoughts, desire versus expectations, cause this kind of conflict and disrupt the positive effect of the law of attraction. And that was way back in 1897 when he wrote that, and all the other people following on, the research that has been done and the writing that has been done, has simply shown that he was absolutely right. So I encourage you to grab that book. It's over in that side in the chat bar, and I truly encourage you to grab that book and read it. Now remember, some of these old books are actually written in English, We speak American now. And, besides the LOLs and the BFFs and so on that have crept into our language, we speak a whole lot differently than the English language that was used a couple hundred years ago. And a lot of it is written with words that you just don't use in your vocabulary. They're perfectly good words, but we've really narrowed down our vocabulary to some pretty basic stuff. So you might have to keep your Google open to look up some of the words that are in there. And it's a little stilted reading because the proper way to write is not to use contractions. Contractions are a mode of speech, but they're not actually supposed to be used in the written word, except when you're quoting, dialogue. And so most of these books are written without contractions, and they just seem a little bit stuffy or stilted to the average reader. But the content is phenomenal, and I encourage you to read it. The interesting thing is, in the past couple of weeks, I have had two, let's call them gurus that I follow. These are not my own personal coaches, but they're two people that I follow on their mailing lists because they do send out some good material. And it was interesting that both of them sent out on the same day. Now, sometimes you'll see the gurus will send out something, and if you look around, you'll find out that that topic was sent out 2 days before or a week before by somebody else, because they tend to share ideas. Guru number one comes up with an idea, writes something, sends out an email. Guru number two, who's on that email list to see what his competition is doing, sees that idea and says, hey, that's cool. And he writes something else about it and sends it out on his mailing list and so on. You'll see, within a period of maybe a week to a month, you will see many of the gurus writing the same topic. Many of the coaches will write the same topic on their mailing list, and that's not just coincidence. That's because they're following each other's mailing lists, and they get ideas from what has been written, and so they write a lot of similar things. That's normal, and that's fine. And by the way, it doesn't break copyright, because you cannot copyright an idea or a topic. So that's perfectly fine as long as they write new words about it. They can write the same idea, and that's just fun. But I found these two that came on the same day within about an hour of each other, and I really don't think that the second person actually wrote this in that intervening hour. But the subject lines, I follow a lot of subject lines. There's a lot of interest there. It keys me for ideas for posts of my own, and it also keys me for some research. And the two of these were on the same topic, a targeted area of the law of attraction. And at the time, I was doing, and still am, I'm doing a lot of research for this series. And so I'm, checking through a lot of things that come in. And here were these two subject lines speaking about the same exact issue, the same issue. One said, "You are not the problem." Full stop. That was the subject line to catch your attention. You are not the problem. The second one said, "Yes, you are the problem." You are not the problem. Yes, you are the problem. Both of them writing about exactly the same thing, exactly the same instance, exactly the same solution. But they looked at it from completely different ideas. And indeed, you are not the problem, but you are the problem. And we'll get into that later on as we progress too. But keep that in mind when you're thinking about these things. When it comes to the law of attraction, you're not the problem so much. I mean, it's what's happening. You're not, when you fall over and you smack into the ground, that's not really your fault. You're not the problem, right? It's gravity that caused you to smash down into the ground. But, I'm still nursing a very sore shoulder because I separated the joint a little bit too much because I slipped on the ice last year. And I'm about 300 pounds. I'm a big guy. And I went down face first. My feet actually slipped out from under me backwards, kind of an unusual type of fall. Usually you go the other way and end up on your back. But my feet slipped out from under me backwards on a very slight slope that was covered with ice. and I went face down, boom. And I know how to fall because I, studied martial arts in an earlier career, and I learned how to fall and do all the proper things. And so I took the fall on my hands first and then cushioned it into my forearms. So all of my weight crashing down jammed into my shoulders. And this one separated a little bit. It's taken a while. I still have some soft tissue issues. Well, I could blame that on all kinds of things. I could curse the earth for being there for me to hit. I could blame it on gravity because gravity pulled me down. I could blame it on the ice. So, I'm not the problem. It was all those things. But I'm also the problem. I didn't analyze the slope enough and the ice enough and consider the frictional coefficients of my shoes that I was wearing, not boots, but shoes that didn't have the proper soles for being outside in the ice. All of those. So yeah, I'm the problem. So I'm not the problem, but I am the problem. And it led to that circumstance. And we do that all the time in our lives. And we need to look at both sides of it. We need to analyze what we're doing, right or wrong. And we need to examine the things around us that affect us in spite of ourselves. And the law of attraction is one of those things that affects us in spite of ourselves. So we started back in the early 1800s and on the way up to 1897 when Wolf Trine wrote that book. In actual fact, it was 1877. Not that it matters so much. I'm not big on history lessons, but it's just nice to know sort of when it was that the law of attraction, those words, law of attraction, first appeared in writing. Was in 1877, and you can look that up if you want to find out who wrote it and what was there. It was kind of a passing thought, so it opened the door, but it's really some of the later works that are there. And then there was a sudden resurgence of writing in the early 20th century, and I think that part of that is because of the availability of affordable printing presses that occurred at that time, and the ability for just about anybody to write a book and get it published. You didn't have to be successful and go through the big houses. There were a lot of small printing presses that would publish your pamphlet or your small book. Sound a little bit like Amazon and Kindle. And so there was this resurgence of interest because people who were discussing it in small groups could now share what they were discussing in writing. And so it was really a very interesting period of time. And out of that, we have into the early 1900s and through to the end of the century, we have just an enormous raft of good books written on the subject and great authors that many you've come to know. One of the first was Charles Haanel. That's Haanel. And he wrote a book called The Master Key System. And it's actually been the foundation for several other books that you know. His book doesn't get a lot of traction. And it's really the basis for books like Think and Grow Rich and The Laws of Success and The Secrets of Success or How to Win Friends and Influence People. You've probably heard all of those titles. This Master Key System is really the foundation of much of that. Elizabeth Towne is another name that comes to mind, and I've read her book called Life Power and How to Use It, which truly speaks to the whole idea of the law of attraction. It's worth the read. As a Man Thinketh, I already mentioned, and then two more that I think are truly foundational for today's understanding of the law of attraction that really encompass much of where we are today without the quantum physics part of it. That's come along. It was starting at that time. This is in the late 80s and late 90s. In fact, I suspect that Joe Vitale's Spiritual Marketing was the last major publication in the last century on the subject. And then Louise Hay is a major writer, and you may have run across her in your travels. And so I'm going to share these two with you as well, all of which I really encourage you to have a look at. Read, skim, whatever it is you normally do. But those books are foundational to this whole principle, this whole concept. Of course, in modern times, really modern times, since the turn of the century, we are actually a decade and a half into this new century, and there has been a lot of development. The whole cosmic aspect of law of attraction and the whole the idea of quantum physics applying, and a number of major scientists getting involved, really come around the 2006 movie and then the book that followed it called The Secret. That's available on YouTube, The Secret. Certainly worth looking at. It's a full-length feature film, some main actors in it, some key physicists speaking in it, and some thought and influence writers and coaches and gurus that you will recognize speaking to the subject of the law of attraction. It's a little esoteric, a little artsy, but it's certainly worth watching just to get a feel for the kind of thing, and I highly recommend it to you. So that is kind of the underpinnings of where we're going with this series. If you came today looking for the whole enchilada, I'm afraid I can't give it to you. This is just a little bit of the spice and the sauce, perhaps. The key here is that this is the foundational material that you need to move forward. And if you're going to come back next week to get the beginnings of, cutting up the meat and the vegetables to put this whole thing together, then I encourage you to have looked at some of this material ahead of time. Understand it if you can, have questions if you do, and come back ready to dig into the in-depth parts of it, because the law of attraction will work for you almost, it will work for you without you doing anything, but it won't work for you the way you would hope it would if you don't do anything. It truly needs your input in the right way. What it really needs is just to stop doing a lot of the bad things that you are doing in your life that are keeping you from manifesting the success that is yours. And success is out there for everybody. Studies have been done to see why people are successful. They look at the key factors. What made Bill Gates successful? He came from a pretty common home. He didn't have access to a whole lot of extra stuff. He was a mediocre student. How did he become so wealthy? Steve Jobs was a phenomenal motivator and an idea person, but he wasn't really, a great technician. It was Wozniak that built the original computers. So how come Jobs was so successful and gained all the prestige in his life? What set him apart? Look at anybody that's done these things. Look at our current political situation, and what gives these people the ability to move to the top of the pack. So when you look at those things, and you look at people that you respect and people that you see that are successful and people that are doing a variety of things, what gives them the edge? And I've looked at a lot of these books, the success habits of 30 successful people, or a variety of other books that are out there on these subjects, and I find that most of these books are empty. They tell us who the people are and what they did, but they don't really have the answer for why they got there. And there's always the people that are looking for some common factor, some success factor that they can pin down. And truly, the law of success is that common factor. And it's not so much what they do or who they are. It's what they got out of their lives, what they pushed out of the way, what they set aside in order to focus on the right things and let the law of attraction work in their favor. And if you analyze those people, you will find that that is over and over again, many cases, whether they know it or not, that really it comes down to. And we're going to talk about that in detail. We're going to show you how to do it. And my time is more than up here now. I'm just a few minutes past the top of the hour. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. For those of you grabbing this on the replay, the replays will be there every week. You're welcome to find them. If you're looking for me on Blab seems to be having some long-term troubles with the profiles for people and with the listed replays and so on being in the right place in the right order and so on. So the best way to find me for new shows is to go into just go into the homepage of Blab and go to the search box and search for @Wizard's Place, @Wizard's Place, and that'll pull up any of the items I have scheduled. I'm trying to get these scheduled throughout the week in advance. For example, this week I have this one we've just done now, but I had Monday, Wednesday, and Friday already scheduled before going into this one. And I'm trying to do that every week. I will probably have next Monday's scheduled sometime during this week, so you can look and find. Yeah, the profiles show the old ones, not the upcoming ones. But if you search for, if you're in the search box, don't go to the profile, just go to the Blab homepage, and in the search box put @Wizard's Place. That'll pop up all of the Blabs that I have scheduled and the ones I've been in, even if I've been in as a guest. But the ones that are scheduled ahead will be first in the list, right at the top of the list. If you were to do that right now, you'd find two that I've got scheduled, one for Wednesday, one for Friday. You might find this one at the top of the list still too, but you'll certainly find the ones that are scheduled. It's sort of the only way around it right now. And I'm not sure if Blab is ever going to fix that, because they have indicated that they are not interested in supporting presentations like this. They are really looking at Blab being a chat vehicle, basically sit around the coffee table, have coffee and chat. And frankly, I'm looking at converting my sessions into that again. That's how they started. And using another vehicle for the actual presentations that will deliver a little bit better. I'm experimenting with a couple of things. I've purchased the webinar webinar presentation product, and I may switch to using that for these training sessions or these sharing sessions, whatever you want to call them. But I'll probably use Blab maybe in shorter versions, perhaps even 15-minute versions, to promote what it is I'll be doing through the webinars. It's disappointing because I really love Blab. I think it's the best vehicle for me for doing this. It's the best vehicle I've found. The ability to just step in and present. I can spend my time preparing the material that I want to give you rather than spending a whole lot of time trying to set up the webinar presentation and get people to sign up for it and so on. But that's just me. Anyway, thank you, folks. I'm going to stop the recording, and I'll be here for a few minutes if there's any off-the-record questions. Yeah, Cindy, thank you for trying that and seeing that search works. I spent a long time finding that one to find a way to tell people where they could find me, because the profile thing just hasn't been working, and it's been a real pain. Anyway, guys, thank you.